Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great day. My name is Prisha Kumaran and today we have Shoban Kumaran
Hello, everyone.
and Moses Selvanathan
Hi.
with us today, and we are from SMK Raja Mahadi Klang, and our group name is Go Green Catalyst, and today we are here to talk on global warming. To start up, let me just define the term global warming. Global warming is the long-term heating of Earth's climate system observed since the pre-industrial period between 1850 and 1900 due to human activities, primarily fossil fuel burning, which increases heat-trapping greenhouse gas levels in Earth's atmosphere. Next up, I call upon Shoban Kumaran.
Thank you very much, Prisha. Right. These are the greenhouse gases that are currently existing in the Earth we're living right now. So they're going to be carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, fluorinated gas, and water vapor. To start up, carbon dioxide. Accounting for about 76% of global human caused emission, carbon dioxide, better known as CO2, sticks around for quite a while. Once it's emitted into the atmosphere, 40% still remains after 100 years, 20% after 1,000, and 10% as long as 10,000 years later. Next up, methane. Although methane CH4 persists in the atmosphere for far less time than the carbon dioxide, it is much more potent in terms of the greenhouse effect. In fact, pound for pound, its global warming impact is 25 times greater than that of carbon dioxide over a 100-year period, which means methane could do as much as damage as much as carbon dioxide could do in a 100-year scale, which is even shorter for in terms of methane. Globally, it accounts for approximately 16% of human-generated greenhouse gas emissions. Number 3, nitrous oxide, better known as N2O, is a powerful greenhouse gas. As an understatement, it has a global warming potential 300 times that of carbon dioxide on a 100-year time scale, and remains in the atmosphere on average a little more than a century. It accounts for about 6% of human-caused greenhouse emissions worldwide. Furthermore, we're moving to fluorinated gas, emitted from a variety of manufacturing and industrial processes. Fluorinated gas are man-made. These are the four main categories: hydrofluorocarbons, HFCs, perfluorocarbons, PFCs, sulfur hexafluoride, SF6, and nitrogen trifluoride, NF3s. At last, water vapor. Now, warmer the air, the more water it can hold. And since water vapor is a greenhouse gas, more water absorbs more heat, introducing even greater warming and perpetuating a positive feedback loop. This means that water vapor has a capacity to trap heat when it's actually in its heatest form. It turns into a water vapor state and it goes up to the atmosphere, creating more and more space for it to hold heat.
Okay, next up, the causes of greenhouse gas emissions. Over here, we have 5 causes, which is electricity and heat production, agriculture and land use changes, industry, transportation, and buildings. Okay, the electricity sector involves the generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. Carbon dioxide, known as CO2, makes up the vast majority of greenhouse gas emissions from this sector, but smaller amounts of methane and nitrous oxide are also emitted. These gases are released during the combustion of fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gas to produce electricity and heat. Next up, the agriculture and land use. Okay, so how does agriculture contribute to climate change? See, before reaching our plate, our food is produced, stored, processed, packaged, transported, prepared, and served. At every stage, food provisioning releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Farming, in particular, releases significant amount of methane and nitrous oxide, two powerful greenhouse gases. Methane is produced by livestock during the digestion of enteric fermentation and is released via belches. It can also escape from stored manure and organic waste in landfills. Nitrous oxide emission are an indirect product of organic and mineral nitrogen fertilizers. By reducing food waste and our consumption of emission intensive food products, we can contribute to cutting the greenhouse gas emissions of agriculture. Next up, the industry sector. Greenhouse gas emissions from industry primarily come from burning fossil fuels for energy, as well as greenhouse gas emissions from certain chemical reaction to produce goods from raw material. Next up, transportation. The transportation sector includes the movement of people and goods by cars, trucks, trains, ship, airplane, and other vehicles. The majority of greenhouse gas emissions from transportation are carbon dioxide (CO2) emission resulting from the combustion of petroleum-based products like gasoline in internal combustion engines. Next up, the buildings. There are two ways in which buildings are responsible for greenhouse gases. The first is the construction phase. Buildings are made of concrete and steel, both of which produce a lot of emission when they are being made. In fact, these two materials account for around 10% of the world's annual greenhouse gases. And right now, we don't have practical ways to make either one without releasing carbon dioxide. The other way buildings contribute to climate change is with their ongoing operations. It's natural to think of lights and appliances like TV as the biggest energy hogs, but they are not. It's actually heating and cooling. For an example, like your air conditioner. So, by reducing embodied carbon, we can limit the negative impacts of global warming caused by buildings. Shoban?
All right, now let me go through the process of a formation of greenhouse effect. In fact, the greenhouse effect is a natural process that warms the Earth's surface. When the sun's energy reaches the Earth's atmosphere, some of it is reflected back to space, and the rest is absorbed and radiated by greenhouse gases. Now, the absorbed energy warms the atmosphere and the surface of the Earth. This process maintains the Earth's temperature at around 33 degrees Celsius, warmer than it would be otherwise, which means it allows life on Earth to exist. So, an understatement here says that greenhouse effect is actually a positive feedback that promotes life on Earth. Now, to put this in a step by step perspective, step one, solar radiation reaches the Earth's atmosphere. Some of this is reflected back into space. Now, those reflectings are being done by the ozone layer above. Step two, the rest of the sun's energy is absorbed by land and the oceans, heating the Earth. Step three, heat radiates from Earth towards space. Some of this heat is trapped by greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, keeping the Earth warm enough to sustain life. Now, at this point, what we've known that greenhouses actually played a positive role on promoting life. Now, billions and billions years ago, life was quite hard to even think about because Earth was quite icy cold. Now, this is where the problem starts to rise. Step five, human activities such as burning fossil fuels, for example, coal, natural gas, and agriculturing and land clearing. These are the human activities that are increasing the amount of greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere. Now, step six, this is trapping extra heat and causing the Earth's temperature to rise.
Thank you. So, all right, guys, these are the few devastating impacts or effects of climate change. First off, rising temperature, loss of wildlife and biodiversity, increase in extreme weather conditions, and unpredictable weather patterns. According to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA's) 2020 annual climate report, the combined land and ocean temperature has increased at an average rate of 0.13 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 0.08 degrees Celsius per decade since 1880. However, the average rate of increase since 1981 is 0.18 degrees Celsius, 0.32 degrees Fahrenheit, has been more than twice that rate. Next up, loss of wildlife and biodiversity. The link between climate change and biodiversity has long been established. Although throughout Earth's history the climate has always changed with ecosystem and species coming and going, rapid climate change affects ecosystems and species' ability to adapt and so biodiversity loss increases. Next up, increase in extreme weather conditions. Climate change is expected to worsen the frequency, intensity, and impacts of some types of extreme weather events. For example, sea level rise increases the impacts of coastal storms, and warming can place more stress on water supplies during droughts. Next up, unpredictable weather conditions. Scientific studies indicate that extreme weather events such as heat waves and large storms are likely to become more frequent or more intense with human induced climate change. This chapter focuses on observed changes in temperature, precipitation, storms, floods, and droughts. Next up, I call upon Moses to explain on solutions to prevent global warming.
Solution to prevent global warming. There are four steps. Step 1. Use fluorescent bulbs. You should immediately change incandescent light bulbs and use fluorescent light bulbs because these fluorescent bulbs consume less energy comparable to incandescent bulbs. Next, plant trees. Trees absorb carbon dioxide, which makes up 76% of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. So, planting more trees can help to reduce the amount of carbon in our atmosphere. In fact, we could remove roughly 2 to 3 of human made carbon just by letting all forests regrow. Next, create a more sustainable transportation habits. Instead of ordering a private share, do a ride share, avoiding rapid acceleration and braking, and turn on cruise control on longer trips. Walk and bike to your destination whenever possible. When buying a new car, choose a climate-friendly option. Next, speak up by voicing your concerns via social media or better yet, directly to your elected officials. You send a message that you care about the global warming world and disseminate your care to your nearest friends and relatives.
Thank you, Moses. Climate change is real. It is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species, and we need to stop. We need to work collectively together and stop procrastinating. This is a quote by the famous Leonardo DiCaprio, an actor and also an environmentalist. That is it from us, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much.